Thank you for staying tuned to Sunrise at Sea right here on CTV. And we continue the conversation that we had in the first segment of the Twitter Jabs. I am joined by a gentleman with so many stripes on his shoulder. I can't even keep count. And his name is Dr. Chigongo Haruna Buyondo. And he is the National Programs Coordinator, Keeping Schools Open and Safe Task Force. He is also the Senior Lecturer at IU, a Chairman Board of Directors at Lukman SS, Chairman Board of Governors at Noor SS, and also a National Patron Muslim Students Association of Uganda. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining me on the Twitter Jabs.
I'm really delighted and honored to be on the Twitter Jabs live show.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I'm glad to have you here.
Oh, I'm most glad to be on CTV, the baby TV station that is really taking a good shape in our country.
Thank you.
You are really shaking the airwaves of Uganda.
Thank you, sir. That is what I'd like to hear.
We are really very proud of your productions.
Yes.
And your products are really eye-catching.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
so, Dr. Chigongo, so we are looking at a review and assessment after the first week of schools opening in the country. Yes. So, for my first question, what is the picture like? Is what we are doing working? Because it is stated that about 4,000 schools were not reopened. Also, the government did not know how many teachers were going to be returning to the classroom. We were also very uncertain about how many students would actually also report to the classroom. So, what is it looking like?
This is something that has been challenging everybody.
Yes.
And everybody wanted to guess what actually will happen when the schools are finally open.
That's true.
But the truth is everybody has been praying for schools to open.
Yes.
And finally the schools have opened.
Yes.
So the prayer has been answered. Okay. So despite any other challenge that may arise, the schools have been opened. And they are now in operation.
Yes.
Many learners have not come back. That would be expected, naturally.
Yes.
Keep them home for a long time. Others will come, others will not come back because of the various challenges.
Yes.
Then the same with the teachers. They've been earning through teaching. Now, they are not earning through teaching, but they are human beings, they have families, and they have a life to procreate. So, they have to find alternatives. So, if where they went, they found something slightly sweeter,
yes, I
wouldn't really normally expect them to come back because they're only teaching to earn a living. So if they can earn a living from somewhere else, then they're not coming back.
But isn't it a very unfortunate thing to say that they're only teaching so that they can earn a living?
Well, that is really the reality.
Yes.
That's the reality. Okay, that's why they went to school. Because I teach at the university,
yes, and
the students always ask you, is this course marketable? Will I get employment? Because our education system is that skewed. Okay, people are being trained to get a job, mainly, and people are looking for jobs. And of course, when the job it is the earning,
yes,
so that is really the prime. And the parents are paying money to students, their children, to go to school and do a course where when they finish, they'll easily get employed and earn something. Yes. And if a course is not employed and somebody is not going to get money, then no parent is going to pay money for that course. So it is, well, that's the reality.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so people must go do education so that they have at least an income security.
Yes.
Because teachers are known for having a job security and income.
Yes.
So if a situation comes and that one has changed, then everything has to change. But it is that funny, but it's the reality.
Yes.
Yeah.
So before the schools opened, everybody was concerned that we were not ready to reopen the schools. So what's the Keeping Schools Open and Safe Task Force doing to ensure continuity of school operations? Because at the time of the reopening of schools, the country had reported a surge, an increase in COVID-19 infections. So how is the task force going to ensure that this time round, the president does not recall and say, infections are going up, everybody go back home again?
Yes, that is the challenge actually that led to this task force to come up, to volunteers to rise up and put up this effort. The president closed the schools and he was very clear. He said, it is COVID. I don't want to lose my grandchildren. I love them so much.
Absolutely.
And he was right.
Yes.
Okay, he's a caring father or grandfather in that respect. So everybody believed him. With people must, the life matters. Okay, you can't say, I will let them keep in school and they die there. So the president was right to close the schools.
Yes.
But then they were closed for too long. And of course, the economy is also down and everything is down. We have lost human resources for 2 years.
Yes,
and
we have.
I don't think we shall ever recover from that.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
Why is that?
Because you have not been teaching for 2 years. Okay? Yes. You don't have that, the gap. There is no simple mechanism. Okay? Yes, they're talking about automatic promotion, but how about the candidates? Okay, are you also going to promote people from senior 4 to senior 5 immediately? So they have to wait and do the exams.
That's true.
So that is already a gap created.
Yes.
Those who are in senior 6 and have been holding for 2 years, they cannot go to second year or first year in university.
Without doing the exams.
They have
That
to
is
do
true.
the exams and they pass. So the gap is big and it is not going to be filled. Technically, it is not. So what must we do to keep the schools open and safe? That is why we rose up and we said, no, they were closed because COVID was high in the schools and the community. How do we ensure COVID doesn't rise in the schools?
Yes.
Okay? And that's why we come in and we said, we are going to undertake a number of activities so that the COVID rate in schools is kept what?
Down.
So that the president doesn't have any other reason to say, I'm closing the what?
The schools.
That is why the task force rises. And so we have put a number of what? Programs and activities to ensure that happens.
What kind of activities and guidelines have you put in place to ensure that the infections in schools stay down or do not even rise up again?
A number of activities have been put in place. But number one, which is the most important, is to call out continuous surveillance of COVID in what? In the schools. Because according to the World Health Organization guidelines, he said the best way to control COVID is by doing 3 things. Number 1, test. Number 2, test. Number 3, test. Okay?
Yes.
And that is really the gist of the matter. We must test, we must have evidence about the prevalence of what? COVID. Because this is something that causes sentiments and it is very passionate. Part of the reason for closure last time was because people came up with sweeping statements about the infection.
Yes.
The rate is so high, people are going to die. But of course, a few had died generally, but not everybody was dying. There were actually few students. Children were not actually dying because they are more resistant than adults.
True.
The adults were more infected.
Yes.
But you say, hey, and meaning it was just passion. Then the school was closed down. Said,
Yes.
no, we're not going to allow that. We are now training medical and paramedical students in COVID surveillance and screening. Actually, we have been conducting a number of what? Training programs. And we have invited these as volunteers to come. We have made a partnership with Makerere University College of Veterinary Medicine, Animal Resources and Biosecurity.
Yes.
Because they are training these paramedical students in lab medicine. So the best people to do this, of course, are those who did lab. Okay, but we are adding these nurses and midwives with the medical profession so that they can be in a position to be deployed and do testing.
Yes.
We want schools to be tested so that we know. And the second strategy is to now provide for early management of these cases.
Yes.
The good thing with these children, it is easy to manage. Okay, in schools. The strategies are simple. Okay, you can take these natural remedies, like taking a very strong ginga.
Yes.
So now we are going to reach out to these head teachers and tell them, look, when we test, we say, okay, the number is high, okay, because generally many children already have.
Yes.
Yes. So now what can we do locally? Try to do local management. Put a very strong ginga in the tea.
In the
children
teas,
take,
yes.
okay, so that it is easy to, because it is about balancing acidity and alkalinity in the system. So that is one of the issues. Then, because also we have medical students, if we find those who are positive, then we look at what is the severity of the signs.
Yes.
Is it so high or low?
Yes.
Then we do local management. You can tell the school, take off this one dormitory and
let that be an isolation
and let's
center.
do
Yes.
this. Then manage stigma, because of course there is this stigma.
Yes,
Like
that is also very important. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And what else is being done for the teachers? Are teachers having a refresher course? They've been out of the classroom for 2 years. And what about the students as well and the pupils? Are they also having refresher courses, or they're being thrown into the syllabus right away?
What the government has done, and I liked, that the first week has been for orientation.
Okay.
Okay. They also, until actually Friday, okay, they were being oriented.
Yes.
And given counseling, psychosocial support. And most of the schools have been doing this. The teachers were doing it. They were inviting people from different places to come and talk to the what? I mean, like wash off the dust and bring it back to the education what?
Yes.
System. Because everybody had divergent ideas and views following what they have been occupied with during the what? Those who are selling face masks, those vending, eats here and there, I mean a bit of the money. So orient. So they have been oriented, and I think that is one of the issues, good issues I have recommended the government. They have done very well.
Yes.
So first week, orient everybody. Teachers undergoing orientation and learners going before now full-blown blast on what? On teaching. I think teaching is supposed to start today.
Yes. So what are your thoughts on pregnant girls going back to school? Bishop Sebagala came under a lot of fire after he made comments that pregnant girls should not go back to school. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, this is something that has really invited a lot of debate. And people actually have rights to express their views.
Yes.
I am a school manager and owner of schools. And these schools have foundations and they have values.
Yes.
Okay? So depending on the values of the school and the values of education, we see it depending on what we are. For me, I've not risen up to blame anybody concerning these views. But my personal views are actually also different. Maybe I supported the bishop because, well, I follow faith. I'm a man of faith. And, well, what is this we are teaching the learners when they come to school?
Yes.
Every parent is interested in
the academics first priority.
Academics first priority, but the values, the morals go together.
Yes.
Okay. If, for example, if you are to work with the CTV and you have good papers, Bachelor of Mass Comm and everything, but you are a thief, you are a liar, you are a late comer, I mean, who wants to work with you? So the issue of values comes in.
Yes.
If this girl is in senior 2, she comes back with a Balujing baby, and everybody is aware she did what she did, but illegally. So what message is being communicated? Yes. Psychologically, we know that what you see communicates more than what you hear. Okay?
Yes.
So if these pregnant girls are in a class, senior 2, senior 3, and these babies are swinging from left to right, what really are you telling the other what?
The others.
Girls have been becoming pregnant over the years. This has been around. It's not the first time. Okay, but the schools have been strict with their values. You are not supposed to get pregnant outside what? Marriage. Yes, this is a social value. And I will not really wish to downtrod it so much, given the challenges of COVID. So my perspective would be that the girls be given a chance to deliver.
Yes. Okay.
And then come back to school.
They can come back to school.
I wouldn't support anybody to reject a girl back at school on the ground that she has a baby. Okay, that would be a little much.
Yes, there are some schools in Mbale that I'd like to commend that have actually allowed girls who are breastfeeding to return to school with their children. For instance, Mbale Secondary School, there's also Bugishu Senior Secondary School that have designated some breastfeeding corners for girls who have already given birth to come back to school with their children. So I think perhaps we are...
That is closer to acceptance.
Yes.
Okay? Because this girl is not working with the baby on the what? This protruding tummy on the compound in the class.
Yes.
Okay, the kid is somewhere. Okay. And by the way, I also have been teaching in Mbale, so some of those schools have been very good for about even married women, they study.
Yes.
But as long as you are not pregnant. Because that sends a different picture. Okay? You are really causing a lot of debate in the school compound. And that value must really be protected at all costs. And
allow me to ask, humor me, doctor, what about the boys who impregnate these girls?
That is one of the projects actually we are running, but separate from this one.
Yes.
Okay? There is what we call a heart causing hurting hearts. That concept.
Wow.
Yes.
I love how it sounds already. Please say it again one more time.
A heart causing hurting hearts.
Yes.
You have one boy. I use another slogan somewhere, we call them a village bull.
Yes.
Okay? He has, look, in the villages, usually have one person with a bull. Not everybody who has a cow keeps a bull. So that when these cows are due for conception, they take them to that what? So that bull is doing all of the service to this other what? So some boys are like that. And they go away untouched.
Yes.
And this is very pathetic.
Yes.
And we always blame the girl. Whose bed is moving. And the boy is free. I said, this is unfair. And many of these projects we are running are actually targeting these girls who are actually pregnant. And the impregnator is impregnating others. Okay? It is like in HIV. I also work with the HIV. I work with the TASO, and we are also part of this strategic planning.
Yes.
So in TASO, like you look at the prevalence and you say, okay, so even, let's say 80%, those who have HIV. Meaning the 92 don't have what? HIV. And yes, many of these intervention programs are targeting the 80% and are leaving the 92%. Said, look, it has to go together. And actually a bigger budget has to go to the 92% who are not yet infected.
Yes.
Yes. But if you put all of the facts on these, okay, these others are going to come because they are not sensitized so much.
That is true.
They'll come and keep picking the function. Therefore, the boy-child project, they are preparing the boy-to-man transition is key.
Absolutely.
And various stakeholders must come up and prepare a boy-child. We have these senior woman teachers, and of course the focus now is on girls. I think it is high time the trend change. The way we look at things, the way we counsel and upbring our what?
Our boys.
Our boys. Care must be double to the boy than to the what? Because they are the trouble causers. So if one boy is impregnating 25 girls, this is one heart. Okay? He is going to cause these 25 girls to be hurting. He's hurting their hearts. Yes. That is really the trouble we have.
Yes.
1 to 25, because that is the general ratio. Okay? So everybody is quiet about it. Okay? These singers, you really hear about sessions for kojas. People have been organizing these visakate for girls.
Yes.
And the boys are left to Scott and said, okay, you come out. We shall show you fire. Okay, and actually show them the what?
Yes.
And that is why everybody is now concerned, pregnant girls. Yes. But
where nobody's talking about the impregnators.
The impregnator is walking scot-free and he's actually laughing. He says, look at them suffer. I'm to add more. So we need a strategic approach to the boy child.
That's true.
Okay.
I absolutely agree. And I would also like to ask, now what about the private schools? Because it said about 4,000 schools are not going to be reopening. And it's also not properly stated whether there are more private schools that are not opening or more government or some government schools are also not opening. It's not really, you know, stipulated or clearly defined. However, given that fact and that they are struggling and having missed out on the government's stimulus package, how can we help the schools, or how can the private sector, private educational sector, how is it going to be impacted by this?
It is a challenge and a big one.
Yes.
I saw that list that was running in the newspapers, schools that were being sold. Okay?
Yes.
And I think it had over 100 schools which were out for sale. Other people, actually many people have left. Many schools have closed down. And I've seen many have been sold. And those big people, others were big schools, have bought those other small schools nearby.
Yes.
That has happened, and actually more are still being sold, because there is the one I've also seen near my place. It is being sold off. That is true, and that is because it is a major problem to our country, because government schools are only 30% of the total schools population. The 70% are all private what? Schools. So meaning that the majority of the Ugandan children are going in private schools.
True.
And we all know that the biggest quality of education is in the private schools, because these have ability to set standards.
True. Okay,
you will see many people who love their children with love in quotes, have taken their children to what?
To private schools.
Why? Because of high
standards.
Now they are closing. Why? Of course, the number of reasons. One, they could not maintain their teachers' pay during the lockdown. So many teachers have left. Yet the government has, those on the government payroll have continuously been paid. So they are still there available. Actually, the government also put up 2,000 teachers on standby. Okay, in case some schools had a shortage, there were 2,000. That's what the government announced. Said, okay, you can go and deploy to those schools. Yes. Then the stimulus package comes, and of course, it's going to government what? Schools. The private schools are left outside. So that now raises the question that 70% of the learners are in trouble. Okay, yes. Not that all parents want, okay, but they are more, they reach. out, they are more distributed all over the country. So there is another big problem which people are not looking at, that we are going to also to have a situation where many children are not going to school. And this is a survey that needs to be taken. I think after the 3rd week, how many learners are not able
to go back to school?
Why? Because the school is not there. And if they are to go to a government, it is already full.
That's true.
With this restrictions of social distancing,
exactly, the SOP is going to be very difficult.
they can't even, if government schools are there, they are not going to take. This is something critical. Okay, and yes, the stimulus package has now to do this. These are schools, the government ought now to make information and survey and see who has school, where do we have a problem, the distance issues. Okay, where learner cannot go to any other school, and people maybe cannot afford the boarding schools elsewhere.
That's true.
So this is what is critical, and this is where the government has now to come in. The package has to be revised, or those who have missed out, especially the learners,
yes,
must be now documented, because a big population is not going back
to school. That is true.
That is
for many reasons. And also another thing that is very important, and I would like you to comment on, is the mental health on one, the teachers, but now let's talk about the mental health on the students, because in the first week it has reported that 2 children, one a student in secondary school, and then another younger child, about 6 years old, took their own lives because they did not like the schools that their parents were taking them to. So how can we as teachers, as parents, ensure that our children, our learners, are in the right state of mind as they are going to school?
This has a number of factors. Maybe if you just take it from what those people said, you can take a wrong decision, yes, or interpretation of the issues. I have also seen the various universities where I've been teaching.
Yes.
Children get opposed to joining a particular university. They want another
university,
and the parent wants another. So I've seen really children shedding tears. Okay, when at least I remember a number of cases. I spent more years teaching at Islamic University. They cry. Okay, and I've seen 4 parents who brought their girls, because they said, I think this university has a lot of restrictions, so we're taking our girls there. Well, and they didn't tell them because they would refuse. Actually, they came, paid everything, left. They said, if you want to study here, if you don't want, find your own university. And the girls stood there crying and crying. So we really need to devise another strategy of talking to these learners.
Yes.
Before we take them to schools, to avoid such issues happening. Yes. Sometimes it is really, these are grown-ups, and that is the mistakes many parents make. Because you see, when they have studied with this kid when it was a baby, you turn it the way you want.
Yes. Okay.
Then it grows, starts crawling, you still can play around with it. It starts walking. And you look at now, a child of 17 years, 18, okay?
They have a mind of their own.
Yes, you want to treat it the way you are treating it as a baby. They have changed. Okay? They think, they reason. Okay? And maybe this is high time. When you see, like, from age 9, by the way,
yes,
children have strong sentiments. Don't disrespect them. Every time it is not orders. Sometimes it's a discussion. Let the child tell you where I prefer. They have been watching these schools on TV, okay? And they have interests. Okay? Yes. So sit with them and tell them, look, where would you like it to go? Many parents they don't think their children understand. Yes. But you are paying the money for a child to go to school so that he becomes responsible and be a good citizen. But you don't want to listen to his views, and that is a big mistake we make as parents. It is high time we sat down with our children and discuss their school choices.
Yes.
Put them there. Put the pros and cons. Okay, you want this school, but what is the school fees? So much. But really, this is too much on our what? What else can you take? You see, they are also good. Visit some of these schools before you take the children. And I've seen the parents visit. Said, we have come to take a walk around.
Yes.
So they walk around like that, talk to the teachers. Then the child decides, but with a discussion. So I encourage parents to talk with their children about choices of what?
The schools.
Do not force them.
All right. Doctor, as we wind up and end this segment, I would like you to share any parting shots that you have to share with our viewer today.
What is pertinent from my side that people and all everywhere, parents, school administrators, children, students everywhere, I call upon you to support the Keep Schools Open and Safe initiative. we want our schools to be open and it will remain open. And this can only be done if COVID prevalence is kept low. Children and students should accept to be screened.
Yes.
The screening is okay. But they should also accept to take the vaccine when the vaccine is offered. And also to take any other booster vaccines that are available. When those who will be identified as positive should accept to be isolated so that they don't continue to infect their friends. And those others who have not been found positive should support those who have been found positive. Because if they don't if you don't support them, you are negative today at 9 a.m. By 10, you are already positive. Okay? Because you don't have control over the flow of the virus. That is really my pertinent call upon the parents, the teachers, school administrators, but the learners alike.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Chigongo, for joining me today on Sunrise at Sea on the Twitter Jabs. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I hope that he was able to answer all the questions that you had regarding the assessment and review of the first week of the opening of the schools. That is all we had for you on the Twitter Jabs. Keep watching Sunrise at Sea.